You're listening to the Screaming Pods Network.
The time has
Your construction smells of corruption. Manipulates to recreates. This air to go around saga. Gotta launder my karma. Gotta launder my karma.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Oh, shit, he stuck his hand up that guy's ass. On this, the fourth epic episode of the SOV podcast, we look at the spectacularly deranged rural American gorefest, Splatter Farm, and the broad horror comedy How to Slay a Vampire, both from the Brothers Polonia, both legends of our favorite subgenre. I'm Mike D, he of the newly formed Screaming Pods Network, and joining me forever and always is my favorite boy in the Milky Way, Brad Fursona Henderson. How are you doing, baby cakes?
I'm taken back about how happy you are when I'm around. I've never had that feeling before.
You're just elated with joy. It is, Brad. It is a beautiful Friday morning here in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. It's 44 degrees, mostly sunny with no chance of rain. What a glorious day! How are you enjoying Wellsboro, Pumpkin?
It's almost like that scene in Wayne's World when they have, what is it? It's not the time machine, but they have a new feature where it takes them to different places, and they're like, hey, I'm in Texas, howdy, partner, let's go down to the Alamo. And then they get to that one where it's like, hey, we're in Delaware. Hi. I'm in Delaware. That's kind of like what Wellsboro feels like to me. There's not a whole lot going on around here.
Well, Brad, we all know that Wellsboro, it's the birthplace of the Brothers Polonia, but did you also know, dear listeners, that there is not an Arby's in Wellsboro?
It's a crime.
Beautiful Brad and I had to drive 13 miles this morning to Mansfield to get our herd on. It took 19 minutes, okay? And just because something hurts, such as Arby's in our tummy, it doesn't mean it doesn't feel good. Brad, plug our favorite sponsor, please.
We love Arby's.
Good roast beef sandwich would take you 4 hours to make at home. But nobody wants to spend 4 hours cooking a sandwich. Well, Arby's does. At Arby's, you get a great roast beef sandwich that we spent 4 hours cooking just for you. At Arby's, the 4-hour sandwich is 5 minutes away.
If Arby's original roast beef sandwich isn't always enough to fill your appetite, now Arby's has something that will. Introducing Arby's Super, the big 4-hour sandwich that's 5 minutes away.
We obviously love Arby's because they give us millions to do this show. So, hey, eat at Arby's, horsey sauce, Arby's sauce, all day long in your mouth.
All fucking day. And get them to toast the bread a little extra longer. Get them to mix the horsey sauce with the Arby's sauce. And look, if you're kind of sweet on one of those Arby's workers, let them know. Slip them a 5. Give them a wink, baby. You're good looking. They're going to love it. And they will put a little extra beef on your bun. Now, before we jump into our Polonia double feature, we have a few quick asks. Please follow us on Twitter at THESOVPOD. Follow our new home network at Screaming Pods. My gorgeous co-host is on Twitter at Brad F. Henderson, and I am Mike D. _splat. Now, here at THESOVPOD, the THE stands for the, and we are the Shot on Video podcast. We we like to offer snacking suggestions for our salivating mouth holes and yours. Brad, you are the king of wishful thinking. And what do you wish folks to pair with our first offering, 1987's Splatter Farm?
But Splatter Farm is not the best film to probably eat in. But I will go ahead with a couple items here. So first, I would start just with the plain peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Not like some shitty peanut butter, but I would pick Jif, because that's what I consider the best peanut butter. And creamy. If you like the nuts in it, you can do that. But creamy peanut butter and then Smucker's jam. Do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But on the side, which is going to come in handy in a little bit later, is a nice cup of Jell-O chocolate pudding.
I love it. Brad, let me ask a clarifying question here.
Yes, sir.
When you say the Smuckers, now are we talking about Concord grape? Or are we talking about strawberry?
We're talking about strawberry, baby.
All right.
It's delightful. And also what I like to do is I like to cut those sandwiches in half, because to me, and I hope to others too, when you cut a sandwich in half, it's always better. It tastes better. I don't know what it is. I know it's all in my mind, but I don't mind that. I'm not a crazy person. It's just sandwiches taste better when they're cut in half. Fact.
You're not crazy, Brad, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's the pressure that you apply to the top of the bread as the knife comes down, and I would recommend through a diagonal cut. Okay, the pressure of the diagonal knife with your hand on top of it, because typically we use those buttery kitchen knives, right?
No. For example, I know this is a little not shot on video. Well, we already talked about Wayne's World, but I'm going to get into another film. In Kill Bill, at the end of Volume 2, and if you're watching it as the whole bloody affair, just at the end of the film, when the bride, Beatrice, finds out that her child, Sophie's still alive, Bill proceeds to fix Sophie a sandwich before bed. And he is using the biggest fucking knife on the planet to get some mayonnaise out of a jar and put it on that bread. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. The biggest knife you can find to make that cleanest cut, because that's what it's all about. I don't like half-assed sandwich. I don't like when you push down too hard and the bread shifts with your butter knife. I don't like that. I don't like where you cut and then it's like, oh man, I missed that one little spot, so then you tear it. No. That good clean cut through the crust, the bread, peanut butter and jelly, the meat, whatever you're cutting, from back to front to back, however you want to do it, that clean cut. That's what I'm talking about.
Well,
Mike.
baby, I got to tell you, no, look, I know what you're talking about. A couple things here that you've brought up. One, motherfucking Kane from Kung Fu was using like some kind of Hattori Hanzi, like mayonnaise knife or some shit. Who even knows? That's fiction, Brad. We live in the real world, and in the real world, we have a scientific principle called friction. Okay? And if you use chunky peanut butter, with the extra peanuts in there, the halves of the nuts, and I know you love nuts, Brad. I know you love the nut.
Right.
Brad, tell me you love the nut, baby.
I'll just say it right now. I love the nuts.
Say it again.
I love the nuts.
Great. Nuts put a little extra friction in that sandwich. So you don't get the shift. Now, but back to my original point, Brad, it is the pressure from your hand and the knife that is making the peanut butter and the jelly make love. Okay. It's doing some cuckold shit right there where they're just fucking getting together with you in the room. All right. And that is what you love, is when those two items come together. Now, for my recommendation for Splatter Farm, I have a recommendation of what not to eat. Okay. Whatever you do not have a can of Campbell's or Progresso chunky soup. No kind of chunky soup. We'll get to that a little bit later. I call that motherfucking shit cat food. But Brad, tell us what is all going on in Splatter Farm, and let's dive right into it.
What is going on in Splatter Farm? Well, we are starting off with the sophomore effort of the legendary Brothers Polonia. These, I'm going to say kids at the time, they made their first film, I don't know, probably mid-'80s. It was called Hallucinations, I believe. And I believe that's available through maybe SRS Cinema. That's where a lot of their films are available these days. So their second film was Splatter Farm. In their hearts, it was just a bunch of kids making movies on VHS. And, like I said, this is their sophomore effort. It's a shot-on-video movie. When people think shot-on-video films, this is probably immediately what they think about. This odd pacing, bad audio, weird direction, ridiculous special effects. But let me start off by saying I'm not a huge fan of Splatter Farm. But I appreciate and I can see the passion that the Polonia brothers had in making this film together, which they both star in, by the way. And they play brothers in the film, along with one of their other buddies who plays one of the killer in the film. It's a gore fest, a complete gore fest. I mean, we have what we call, like, I guess, torture porn and some of these, like, C-grade movies like August Underground, and even the stuff that Unearthed Films is doing, like the new American Guinea Pig and the old Guinea Pig films from Japan. These just gore-based torture movies. Polonia Brothers were some of the first to do it, I think. I mean, now, when I was thinking about it, watching the film again, I was like, man, this seems like a lot of people started kind of doing this later on. And I think the Polonia brothers might have been first to really get in, no pun intended, really get in deep and do this. Well, what are your thoughts, Mike?
Every time I watch Splatter Farm, I've seen it maybe 3 times now. It was definitely, as Brad said, one of the first shot-on-video movies I saw after Around Blood Cult and Boarding House. But what I think every fucking time I watch Splatter Farm is the movie starts and I'm watching it for about 5 to 10 minutes, and I have this thought to myself where I go, oh, I totally forgot that they have the same actor playing both the brothers in this movie. And then it gets to the point where they get to the aunt's farm and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's right. These guys are fucking twins. And it's like this weird, tell me if I'm totally wrong, but it's some kind of fucking Patty Duke shit that I think for like the first 10 minutes where the Polonias and I believe, who is it? Todd Smith. There's actually a third director on Splatter Farm. He's also the guy who plays the killer, Jeremy. But the way the brothers are framed for like the first 10 minutes of the movie, it could like ostensibly be the same actor. Like it's just single shots and they're nice tight close-ups. The brothers have the same fucking mustache, the same fucking eyeglasses, the same I mean, they're goddamn twins, right? So every time I watch this, I think it's fucking Patty Duke shit, Liv and Maddie shit, where like it's the same person playing the twins. Now, once I get over that, because I'm not a smart person, but once I get over that, it gets into really torture porn territory, gets into a lot of yokely inbred jokes and nonsense, and it just goes down perversion road. Maybe it's an avenue, maybe it's a street, but it goes down there and it doesn't fucking stop until the very end. And it makes me unsettled, and I fucking love it every time. And I always forget some little twist or or I make some new connection, and I think it's fun. And I think what Brad said about the heart being there as far as the filmmakers and like having a good time and trying to keep the audience on their toes, I think it's all there. But I want to dive a little bit deeper, Brad, into Splatter Farm and some of the story beats, particularly at first now around the sexual perversions that are on display for whatever reason. Because I've seen the movie, like I said, 3 times, and I can't figure out why some of these sexual perversions exist, besides the fact that the filmmakers are young. They, to correct you, they're 19 at the time. The Brothers Polonia, born in 1968. This film comes out in 1987. So yeah, they're maybe even late 18. 19
that makes
when
a
making
lot
this
of
movie.
sense. That makes a lot of sense. There's that immaturity level, I think, in that way. It's also the passion of probably coming off of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and some of the serial killers that were prominent around that time. They wanted to really push the limits. And honestly, I think giving two young kids a camera with just making the film themselves with, no one attached or telling them what to do. I mean, it was fair game. And that's what they did. They definitely pushed the limits. But if they didn't do it, I don't think they would have had, because Splatter Farm was a wide distribution for them. This is the film that definitely put them on the map. This had a legit VHS release, back in the mid 80s, later 80s.
We have the story about two brothers, okay, that are visiting their aunt. And we learn on the journey to the aunt's house, which is very quick, again, in the first 10 minutes where they're doing a lot of single shots. But while they're on this journey, they say some shit that is kind of swept under the rug as far as the screenwriting goes. The aunt may be molesting one of the brothers.
Yep.
Okay. And yet they continue to go
it very quickly.
Yeah, super fucking quick. They're like, "Hey, remember when Aunt fucked you?" And then the other brother's like, "Haha, no, let's not talk about when she fucked me because it happened." Something like that. But they don't really get back to the themes of like sexual molestation or perversion until like much later in the picture when they've given you a couple other clues about perhaps the identity of Jeremy, who's the young nubile farmhand. That it's pretty disgusting. He bashes in the heads of wayward wanderers and people hiking, hitting sticks with
Dahmer.
Hammers.
He's like a little Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, for sure. He's a little Jeffrey Dahmer. And he's good looking like Ted Bundy though. I'll give him that. He
looks like Jeffrey Dahmer.
He's definitely the looker of the three. Who do you think's hotter? Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy?
Ted Bundy. That's a quick answer.
But you don't think that Jeremy is a Ted Bundy?
No, I think he's a Dahmer.
You think he's more of a Jeffrey Dahmer?
I think he's a Dahmer all the way. So, my question for you is that we have this opening, the bodies being mutilated and everything. And I've watched the film a few times. I saw the film when I was growing up. Then again, a few years ago, and then recently for the show. I still try to guess what he's doing with after he chops off the hand. Is he putting the hand, because he severs the hand, so he's like got the wrist. He has the wrist out. Is he putting the hand like fingers in his pants and jerking himself off?
Yeah, and it makes no sense because I've tried that shit and it doesn't work because there's no grip.
Yeah.
You need that. It's like Brad Knoll in Sublime said. You need that G.I. Joe kung fu grip.
But it's also, it even goes further from there, which is insane, which we were talking about the sexual perversion of the film, which again reminds me a lot of kind of, Dahmer's case of what he used to do. And even Ed Gein, having sex with body parts. It's, it really does push the limits. And I was even surprised being, when I say widely distributed, this wasn't like in every fucking video store and people were renting, hundreds of copies, but it did make it to stores. It did make it to the shelf. I can't imagine family outing, let's rent a horror film. You pick up Splatter Farm and then you got people fucking skulls and licking wounds and, trying to give themselves hand jobs with severed hands. That could ruin a marriage, There's all that shit. There's decapitation and then like almost cunnilingus licking of like neck wounds, after the decapitation. There's an elderly person reaching into the pants of a deceased loved one to grab their genitals and getting a handful of dust and fucking dirt instead of nut. Like there's a lot going on. Which is impressive that they got this, what is the old lady in relation to them? Do we know?
No, she's definitely like an NC-17 Tim and Eric Day player, who quite literally stars in Splatter Farm. I mean, there's only 4 primary leads in the movie. There's a couple other characters that pop in here or there, but there's really only 4 people in the movie. Two the Brothers Polonia, of course, dominate the picture. But the aunt and then the farmhand Jeremy are strong featured players. And yeah, I mean, she's in the film quite a bit, and she has a very interesting screen presence in that. She does that thing that a lot of older folks do, where they have the lisp. Maybe it's from the dentures or from dental work over the years, but she has this very homely lisp that at once makes you feel like, oh, this is my old aunt who takes care of me and gives me love. But like when her true personality comes out and she doesn't change the cadence of her voice at all, but when she starts delivering messages that are much more subversive than can I make you a sandwich or pour you some fucking lemonade, like it has a very evil feeling to it, which I thought was well used in this homemade film.
Now I know we have one thing that I despise on IMDb with shot on video films is the goofs. Just like, of course you're going to have many goofs on a shot on video film, so stop. But one thing that I thought was absolutely hilarious, and it's a goof in the movie, but I find it so comical and innocent, is when she comes out and she gives the lemonade, and it's clearly water, and you could just see through it. Unless, it's some clear lemonade, but I don't think so. It's just a funny scene, and I crack up. And I don't know if you notice things like that in the film to begin with. I don't know. It kind of sets you in the mood. It doesn't prepare you for what you're about to see, because what you're about to see is some very like deviant and weird sexual wound fucking. But I like that aspect of it, and it just shows. I don't know. I like those honest mistakes like that. It puts me in the mood, and it's nothing to like say, oh well, they fucked up. No. It's just a little honest mistake. I mean, they're obviously not trying to do things like that. They're really filming a family home movie. I mean, there's hardly anybody in this movie aside from the filmmakers themselves and their fucking Aunt Dolores or whatever. But I would really love to know the relationship and seeing her watch these films if she did. Anything for family or friends, I guess.
Look, to your point too, the IMDb goofs or whatever. If you want to see a lot of goofs in a movie, you watch a Martin Scorsese movie, because that dude knows what's up. He doesn't give a shit about continuity. On set he says continuity schmontinuity. He doesn't care if a cup was over here, over there, if your wrist was covered with your sleeve or your coat. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
Scorsese doesn't review dailies because he just says fuck it. Yeah. He has so many mistakes in his movies. I mean, he sometimes they change actors. And people just don't even really realize it. No, for sure. And what I'm saying is when you're a young filmmaker, you're told to worry about things like continuity. You're told to worry about things, that don't affect the performance or don't affect the narrative. And when you learn to just kind of let go of that, and focus on the actor, focus on the story, people, because of what the actors are giving you and because of what the story is providing the audience, people don't notice shit like the lemonade being water or whatnot. And to that point, what I want to say is that I don't think the lemonade's water. I think that old fucking bitch was giving him some moonshine or some Mountain Dew and just saying it was lemonade. Maybe a road soda.
And fucking gaslighting him from the beginning with some moonshine road soda bullshit. Cause we know later in the picture, she's drugging him and doing all kinds of like fucked up Manson family shit to get what she needs.
I'm glad you mentioned Scorsese though, because, about continuity, because what a lot of people don't know, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, is that Paul Rudd is in about 30% of Gangs of New York. He replaces Daniel Day-Lewis, Bill the Butcher. He plays Bill the Butcher for about at least 30 minutes of the movie, but no one notices that. Polonia Brothers Polonia Brothers have less mistakes in their films than major motion pictures, where there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people on set.
That's true. And look, Brad, we've talked about it before, but Brad and I have both done films ourselves, and when you really learn to just kind of let little things go, and you just stay focused, when you just stay focused on the performance and like the big picture, people don't notice shit like sideburns or
they notice that when they're bored.
Exactly, or when they've watched it 5 times. And if you have a motherfucker watching your movie 1 time, you're lucky. And if they're watching it 5 times, you're fucking blessed. And like, who gives a shit if they find bad things on it the 5th time? But if you can enrapture them that first time, such as when you see like a very impassioned project like Splatter Farm, then you're good. You are good. But Brad, I need to ask you this. At the end of the picture, when Jeremy is sodomizing one of the brothers Polonia in the barn, and he shoves his hand somewhere and then puts it all over his face and puts it all over Polonia's face. Is that shit? Did he fucking fist him in the ass and then rub shit all over their bodies?
That is the scene in the movie, but I'm sure that's also your cue to pull out your chocolate pudding and eat it, which I mentioned earlier. So when that scene happens, that's going to be like kind of the beep beep. You pull out that Jell-O chocolate pudding and you start eating it, because that's probably what they used. I'm guessing.
Oh, it's definitely what they used. I mean, you could a great drinking game, or say a great eating game, would be to eat the food product that you see being used as gore in Splatter Farm. So yeah. To Brad's point, there's the chocolate pudding, but also the decapitated head in the woods. We definitely get some ketchup there. Like, you could see that it's ketchup. It's a nice,
whenever the
viscous,
when he's like he falls down because he ran into him in the woods, and then he's got like the bag with the guts and stuff, and it's the bag's got a rip and it's falling on his hand. It's funny because it's 100% ketchup, and I love it, and that's what makes Splatter Farm so fun is little things like that.
Brad and I, before the show, we were out in the parking lot. I was enjoying a cigarette. Brad was having a naked juice because he's all about his body being a temple. But I was smoking a cigarette, and we both conferred that when we watched the movie, because we watched it independently, we both watched the Camp Pictures DVD release. Now, Brad, do you know anything that's because I never saw the original VHS tape, which is a slightly different edit of the movie. Do we know much about the 2 different versions side by side?
No, I think that the VHS is still a rare tape. I mean, at the time during its release, you found it in stores, but many films were like that. The companies produced thousands of tapes, but quickly when the DVD thing came through, and a lot of them just got 1 copy, so either they were broken or or stolen. A lot of cases, films were thrown out. So Splatter Farm was always known as kind of a holy grail for some collectors on VHS. So I don't know. I know this Camp Motion Pictures company gives it in all its glory, but
Brad, actually what I heard is there's more gore in the original VHS cut. The Polonia brothers were never okay with what was originally released on VHS. They called it a rough cut. It was kind of rushed out to market, and they worked with Camp Pictures for what was released as what do they call it? The cult classic edition of Splatter Farm. Like, on screen it says Splatter Farm, and then it says cult classic edition. Watching it over the years, I can only think that maybe there is more music elements added. It was re-edited in some way to have the narrative make more sense. Typically in SOV movies, we have a bit like tangential filmmaking or tangential editing. and maybe the Polonia brothers used some of their more formalized knowledge that they acquired over the years to tighten it up. But yeah, I have not seen the original VHS cut, and I know that there's some folks online that follow the show that have seen it. So please educate Brad Henderson and myself as to what these specific differences are. We would love to see them side by side. And if you have a transfer of the original VHS, shoot it over some way. DM, bruh. All right, Brad, any final thoughts on Splatter Farm before we shift gears to a significantly more epic movie?
No, I think it's a good starting point for people that want to jump into Polonia Brothers and SOV. I think they would enjoy it. It's like I said, it's a nice little time capsule. These two brothers that made films together for a long time up until one of them passed.
So far on the show, I would say that we've covered 3 movies that would be great jumping in points for SOV. And I'm going to call those movies Blood Cult, Sledgehammer, and Splatter Farm. Of those 3, and you don't need to favor the one, of course, that we featured today, but of those 3, which one would you still kind of be like, that might be the jumping in point?
Sledgehammer.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And then still the best SOV movie of all time is Blonde Death, and we already jumped the shark on that shit. But
I don't think
maybe we'll cover it 19.
We may find, because we're going to be covering films that we've seen for the first time.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Brad, we're going to see movies for the first time on this fucking show?
Yeah. We got some films lined up that I haven't seen that I know are shot on video. So, I'll be excited to jump into those to see, like, what... Because, I mean, some of this is definitely, like, nostalgia love for SOV. But seeing new shot on video films sometimes can be a little bit different, because you've seen a lot already. What is this film going to do differently? And if it doesn't, what is unique about it that could, kind of grab you? So we'll see. Because I just, I haven't seen How to Slay a Vampire in quite some time, because I had a friend that gave me a VHS copy, and that's just a bootleg. I don't know if this film ever have an official VHS release. Do we know?
I saw a couple different dates. I've seen that it was released on video in 1995. The digital release that I've always had through what did they call it? It was you remember Brentwood? It was like a small DVD label from the mid-aughts where they would do like public domain movies. They'd release them 4 at a time. They used to do like Pieces or The Black Six or like Crippled Masters. But they put How to Slay a Vampire in one I think called a Blood Pack that I bought at Best Buy when I worked there for like $5 or some shit. But that one is the one that I have, and it says 1996. Okay. So online I see 95 copyright. The disc I have at home says 96. I don't know. If you saw it on VHS, I'm sure that it had some kind of official release.
Well, no, it was a bootleg.
Time period of that format.
It was tape trading. So. Well,
let's jump into it because we've already started to tease the tip. But before we do, Brad, look, I've already worked off my peanut butter sandwich. That's a high protein meal, high sugar. I've already worked it off because I've been scared to death from all the perverted sex in Splatter Farm, and I'm about to enjoy some very comedic perversions in How to Slay a Vampire. What do you recommend I eat to build back up my caloric intake?
I would choose probably it just depends on where you are for brands, but I would pick up mozzarella sticks, frozen mozzarella sticks, because you don't want to grab them from a restaurant because they're going to be soggy by the time you get home. But just some good old frozen mozzarella sticks. Cook them. I would take your time and cook them well, because cheese in a mozzarella stick needs to be perfect in order to eat it. And that was something that I ate when I was younger, staying up late watching movies and stuff like that. And I would do this weird mix of mayonnaise and ketchup on mozzarella sticks. I don't do it anymore because it's gross. But at that time when I was younger, I would mix mayonnaise. Well, actually, it was Miracle Whip. Miracle Whip and ketchup. And I would use that as some dip. And, oh God, I can't even think about eating it now. But take out the dip, the Miracle Whip and ketchup, and just do some mozzarella sticks. I think that's a good dish.
What the fuck is the miracle of Miracle Whip that people even think it's an acceptable substitute for Best Foods mayonnaise, Hellman's East of the Rockies? Like, what the fuck is the miracle?
I have no idea. My mom used to buy it all the time, and I just ate it. And now when I smell it or see it, I get really I get nauseated when I see the Miracle Whip.
Of course, you're talking about breaded mozzarella sticks and not some fucking string cheese, right? Because if you're cooking string cheese in the plastic packet, it's basically like you're cooking crack. You're going to melt the plastic into the cheese. It's going to get you fucking high, and you'll have a completely different How to Slay a Vampire experience. You need the bread to hold the cheese inside. And are we baking it? Are we frying it? What are we doing, baby cakes?
You are baking that shit, Mike. You're baking it, baby.
You are right. We are baking for the Polonia Brothers' How to Slay a Vampire. Look, the only thing I could fucking recommend, again, is what not to eat. And I recommend that you do not eat a bloody tampon while you watch How to Slay a Vampire. Now, that's not because bloody tampons aren't good. They're great. I think the female menstruation cycle is beautiful, and bleeding is wonderful. But I would not eat a bloody tampon during How to Slay a Vampire, because you're going to get cock blocked, so to speak, because someone already eats one in the movie. Now, Brad, tell us about how to wait, don't tell us How to Slay a Vampire. Tell us about the film entitled How to Slay a Vampire.
Before we get into that, since we're talking about food, I think we need to take a quick commercial break from our sponsor.
Look around.
The world's different now.
People are overworked,
Overcommitted. Tired.
But the moon is still the moon. Still round. Still filled with marshmallow. Still covered in really good flavors. Maybe instead of fussing, getting all bent out of shape, we should all just get together and have a moon pie.
A little moon pie can change the world.
Thank you, moon pies. You are delicious. Not too marshmallowy, not too banana-y, not too moon pie-y, but just fucking delish. We are talking right now about the Polonia Brothers' 1995, maybe 1996 film, How to Slay a Vampire. Brad Fursona Henderson, what is this movie about?
We have another Polonia Brothers film that we're talking about, of course, where they both star in it. And they take a different direction with this one. They make a self-aware meta shot-on-video film that very much emulates, I would say, Return of the Killer Tomatoes. It has that type of feel in comedy. I believe they were very inspired by that because it kind of does some of the same jokes. It is about two brothers that have a vampire in their house, and their basement, and they read upon how to slay a vampire. And but it's done in such a fun and innocent way, and it's hard to believe that these two films came from the same people because they're so different. And that's one thing. Another thing I respect about the Polonia Brothers is that they really tried going out, and even in the midst of not making a lot of money, they did it for the Passion. They're like a more sane David the Rock Nelson. If you're not sure who David the Rock Nelson is, do a little research. We'll probably be talking about some of his films. We will be. It's just his films are really hard to find because I think only one has actually ever had distribution. But the dude has made like 100 films that are shot on video. Only he can see. Each one's like 4 to 6 hours. So David the Rock Nelson is a little bit on the loony side. Well, Polonia Brothers is a little more sane, and they tighten it up to an hour and a
Brad,
half.
stop.
What?
Stop. Brad, pump brakes, baby. Pump brakes. How many David Rock Nelson movies have you been in?
I've been in one.
All right, keep going about Polonia Brothers.
Accidentally, and I've never seen it. And I don't know if anybody has. So, yes, I'm in a David the Rock Nelson movie. I think that's what he told me I was going to be in it. I'm in one of the Devil Ant movies. They're just a little bit more sane, David the Rock Nelson. They're obviously having fun. And one thing I can really give them, because I really enjoy How to Slay a Vampire, because it is truly funny. I love the fact that these brothers grew up together making movies, because I know how fun it would be to just sit back as brothers and I'm sure they did it a few times before John's death, but you're just sitting back and watching them and do this, and they do a comedy routine, they do little bits, they break the fourth wall, they do so many different things in the film to make it so different from, unlike a lot of films that are being made around that time, and also shot on video films. I've never seen a shot on video film go this route as far as comedy before, because we don't really have many comedies that are shot on video to begin with. This one's not really horror at all. They just use the vampire, and just a lot of weird shit that they do and directions they go. Was this your first time seeing it? Or did you watch that DVD that you purchased back in the day before?
Oh no, I watched the DVD that I purchased back in the day before, and I want to comment really quick on the time that they made this, because something I was more aware of on this recent rewatch is what was happening in American independent film at the time. They were in mid-90s. American independent film is, of course, dominated by the conversation around like Quentin Tarantino, Kevin Smith, and we're going away from this direct market VHS narrative and more towards, $13,000 on 16 millimeter reversal, to make your first feature. And the way screenplays were being, touted at the time with much more like postmodern, like a deconstruction, like the deconstruction, screenplay that was coming out, where you have a bunch of cultural references and you're breaking the fourth wall and you're leaning into your limitations. There's a lot of interesting things that were happening in American independent cinema that the Polonia brothers were directly responding to, whether it was on purpose or just subconsciously, so to speak, with How to Slay a Vampire. I mean, even, something, Brad, I was thinking about was, when we have the silhouettes pop up during How to Slay a Vampire with the silhouette of the angry audience member that's telling the Polonia brothers, I want to see more titties, or I came here for the pussy, and how I was watching it today and I'm like, oh, that's right. Fucking Mystery Science Theater has already been on the air for 5 or 6 seasons. Like this is something that the filmmakers are 100% aware of while they're constructing jokes and scenes within a movie that only cost hundreds of dollars to make, and they're poising it against these other titans of independent cinema at the time. And I don't know. I thought it was really interesting to have this different perspective. Because when I watched it fucking 10, 15 years ago, it was just a silly Abrams Zucker ripoff, to me, that was shot on video. But now I'm like, oh, there's actually a lot going on here.
Yeah, and I think that's some of my favorite moments in the film is when the audience member pops up, and then they do that weird, sexy scene of just in the bathtub showing a woman's legs. They also have that scene that's very much like in Return of the Killer Tomatoes, is when they just turn to the so-called director, and they're like, hey, can we do this? Do we have enough money for that? And they do it often. And there's just so many funny things that are happening during those scenes. And one thing that always stood out, and I is my favorite type of comedy, is when comedy's not really explained, or they don't really focus on it. During those conversations with the director, there's like a guy in the background, like in a black hat, just humping the wall. And it serves no purpose.
Yeah, there's a guy in a cowboy hat jerking off or fucking a plant or something.
Yeah.
And he's got his back turned to an elderly director, and the elderly director is sitting next to who we believe to be the script supervisor, who's maybe an 8-year-old child.
And which I love because they're making fun of themselves at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
And there's just so much joy out of that. We're not talking about some big name director cracking jokes. No, we're talking about guys that knew that not a lot of people were going to see this movie, and they were making movies solely for themselves and for their close fans and friends and family, and just something to reflect back on when they're older. And I think that's sweet, and I think that's what makes the Polonia brothers stand out. And they are kind of the kings of shot on video, do-it-yourself films. Because there was no cast and crew. It was just them, pretty much, with the camera on themselves, setting up their own shots. If they're not in front of the camera, they're obviously operating it and behind it and doing everything else and doing special effects. These kids were kings, and they were kings in their own mind. And I really think they were. Not even just in their own mind. I really think they dominated. They created something. And like I said, even though we're covering every shot on video film on the show, we're also covering these first. And the Polonia brothers have always kind of stuck out. And, they've been making these films, even after the one brother, John, passed away. Mark's still making films like this. They're just, on little DV cameras in HD now.
Absolutely. And I want to use the unfortunate passing of John to illustrate just how how prolific these brothers are, because Mark is only 49 years old today. And I mean, he's been making these movies since the mid 80s. Okay. And he's only 49 years old today. When John passed, he was only 39 years old. And that was 10 years ago, at this point. And these brothers in this short amount of time made like 40 fucking features together. And to Brad's point, yeah, a lot of it was shot on video. A lot of it was for their own enjoyment and their own passion. But shortly after How to Slay a Vampire, they make a movie called Feeders, which becomes one of the top independent rentals through Blockbuster, who was, of course, the number one video rental retailer at the time. It becomes the number one fucking rental independently that year. I believe it was 96, 97. And of course it was because it was almost like a sci-fi ripoff of Independence Day, at least.
Yeah, and
that's how it was sold.
I remember that one sitting on the shelf when I was younger, at my Blockbuster when I wasn't in Ohio renting from Video Time or anything. This was at my local Blockbuster in the whitest Blockbuster you could find in the whitest town ever. And it was great. and I did rent it. And they made a sequel to that too, didn't they?
They did. It was called Feeders 2. So how to Slay a Vampire it's obviously a comedy. I mean, we start off with brothers kicking their mom in the nuts, finding a vampire rolled up in a Persian rug from a flea market, and from the get-go, we have the brothers pulling gags literally out of the vampire's body. I made a joke earlier about a bloody tampon. That is something that they literally find inside the vampire's mouth. Then we go into, it's about 15 minutes, Brad, of the boys. I say boys, they're kind of grown-ass men, but these grown-ass men trying to kill a vampire. You know, they try to stake him in the heart. They try to cut his head off. They try to hang him. And it's like 20 minutes of this shit. It's very broad, like the comedy. It's very like wide-eyed, like, why don't we try this next? You know? And then, and I want to say, and then the movie gets immature. And I think that if you're a more progressive-minded person, not all this comedy is going to be for you. 'Cause it's very, like, even though the film's only maybe like 23 years old, 20 years old, a lot of the comedy is like super fucking dated. Like, there's a lot of reliance on gay jokes. There's an overgeneralization. It's like a homophobic overgeneralization about, people that are gay, particularly like gay males. Wanting to be, femme or female. They start doing the limp-wristed, bullshit with the character. And I don't know. Some of that comedy just didn't age well for me. Like, I guess I would have thought it was funny when I was like in 7th grade, but looking at it now, it was a little much.
They start off really strong in the movie with some of the notes that they do, some of the notes that they hit. But I do feel that the film overstays its welcome just a little bit. And yeah, I think some of the jokes just don't hit like they probably did at that time. Like, I like how they kind of didn't change, but at the same time, they kind of needed to do something a little bit different. But I do think the film runs a little bit longer, but I do think it's one of their better films. And one thing that I do love about it that we haven't really hit on yet is that in the film, they are their own fans. Very kind of Rudy Ray Moore-ish, where it's just like, we are hilarious, so we're going to do these jokes over and over and over and over again. And even the part where they're doing stand-up, in the fisheye lens, almost telling joke after joke, you know, I find charming, but at the same time, it's like, okay, guys, let's cut it short for a second. But I mean, like I said, they're making the movies that they want to see for them, and that's the beauty of it.
They're looking directly into the lens. What's funny is, going back to my point earlier about having to respond to early 90s independent film culture, like it's almost the Reservoir Dogs scene where they're looking in the trunk, but they're looking into this fisheye lens, and they're delivering what they believe to be the worst jokes, because they've tried everything to kill this vampire. Right? They've tried the stake. They've tried cutting the head off. I listed some ways, but they haven't tried bad jokes. But Brad, these jokes are like sexist, ableist, racist. Like, literally, they look at the vampire and they say, hey, what did the black kid get for my 10th birthday? My bike. You know, like they're just making like fucking terrible jokes. But then they look back at the camera, as Brad said, because they're their own fans, like Rudy Ray Moore. I love that fucking line. I use it all the time. I heard it on Screamcast about a year ago, and it clicked. Rudy Ray Moore is his biggest fan, yep. Brad. You're 100% correct. But they look at the camera, and they go, these are the worst jokes that we know. But as the viewer, I also kind of feel like they think the jokes are funny. And then there's a weird intermission where we watch a pretty racist cartoon.
Yeah.
And they make comments that the cartoon's racist, but I think they're doing it in a way that's like they want to appease the progressive audiences of 1990, and like they're kind of making fun of that. Anyway, all this is to say that I hear all the time about what like great people Mark and John Polonia are, and I'm like, I have no doubt, but there's a lot of shit that they joke about that I think like they need to deal with, or like the audiences need to deal with. Mark is looking directly at the camera, and it's almost like a Mookie, like do the right thing, where he's saying like, this is to all the motherfuckers that da-da-da, right? And he's talking shit about all the girls that like never fucked him. And like how he's about to go slay this vampire, and like that's going to be the thing that gets him tail or pussy. And then his brother like shows up into the frame and is like, man, that's fucked up. Like they really said all those things about you, like being his ally. It's fucking weird, like this day and age, but I don't know. Again, it would have played differently to seventh grade.
I don't think some of this stuff ages well, but I mean, that's, sometimes you make films of that time. And I mean, we even see films now that we liked when we were younger, and we watch, and the jokes don't fit anymore. But I think that's all part of just living in the now and what they thought was funny at that time, and what they thought was good, what they thought was going to sell.
Like I'm a big fan of any number of shows from the 1960s where we have fucking Burgess Meredith or some white bread dude like playing a Native American. In makeup and costume. But I just want to put out a fair warning when Brad and I say this is a comedy and we say that we find it funny, that not everything in the movie is going to be the type of comedy or the type of funny that we might have come to expect today. And it's certainly not as progressive or as woke as like a lot of our views are now, being, middle-aged people ourselves.
I think the film still has a lot going for it as far. I mean, the jokes aren't that funny anymore. But like I said, it's more or less watching the shot on video film of the Polonia brothers than taking anything they say seriously.
There is something so fucking funny to me about watching people that think they're funny, that are like legitimately funny people, be funny. Like the best example of that is like, to me, like a Pauly Shore. Like Pauly Shore is someone who thinks he's fucking hilarious, and you know what? He's actually kind of funny, but it's even funnier to watch him think that he's fucking funny.
Were you just talking shit about Pauly Shore?
No, I'm not talking shit about Pauly Shore. I said I think he's funny. Look, it's the same as your Rudy Ray Moore. I just don't want to fucking play the hits,
I think you just like talking shit about Pauly Shore. You created the show in order to talk shit about Pauly Shore. Yeah, I'm still thinking that you're talking shit about Pauly Shore. I don't appreciate it. No. Did you ever watch the Evening with Kevin Smith or whatever it was? He made a good point one time. He said, why did everybody just shit on Pauly Shore all of a sudden? Because it was like, the movies came out, everybody was like, hey, buddy. And then like a year later, everybody's like, man, fuck Pauly Shore. It's like, what did Pauly Shore ever do? He was just always that character all the time, true. But that character was a lot of fun. I think that a lot of Pauly Shore movies are great, aside from Biodome, which everybody likes Biodome, and that's the one that I can't stand. But I just think he's a funny dude. I like Son-in-Law and Encino Man the best.
Sexy kinda. I love sexy kinda. And you know who's not sexy kinda? He's sexy always. That is my beautiful co-host, Mr. Brad Fursona Henderson. I don't know what his fursona would be. Maybe it would be like an Aquaman, like a Shape of the Water type bullshit. I don't know what your fursona would be, but you are someone that I do not find sexy kinda. I find you sexy always. Brad, do you have any final thoughts on the Polonia Brothers' How to Slay a Vampire?
But I think it would, I'm excited to see what people think. If you haven't seen like a shot on video comedy before, I'm kind of excited to hear what people think of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I tweeted out a link at THESOVPOD. The THE stands for the, and we are the Shot on Video podcast. I tweeted out a link to the DVD I mentioned a little bit earlier in the show for, I believe it's called Blood Pack by Brentwood. You could get it for $8. Amazon has a handful left, or look, because we are on a rogue network. We're not owned corporate. Fucking Chris Hardwick isn't our boss. We can't get fucking sued. Or you could go on YouTube and watch How to Slay a Vampire by typing those very words into YouTube and scrolling down maybe 4 or 5 selections and then pressing play. So you could find it that way. Splatter Farm is available through, like we said, Camp Pictures. You could easily buy that online through any number of retailers. I did not check to see if our favorite Grindhouse Video has it in stock.
Amazon has it to rent too.
Oh, Amazon has it to rent digitally. Wow. We are living in the future. Who fucking knew that Penny's book from Inspector Gadget would one day be all of our fucking cell phones, and our dogs wouldn't even need to learn how to arf in a way that we could communicate with. In 1 week, we are watching Spine, and we are watching Scary Tales. So I believe, is that February 2nd?
Something like that, yes, sir.
Yeah, February 2nd, we're going to watch Spine and Scary Tales. Spine you could easily find online. Scary Tales, please get through mondotees.com. Follow their video links. You could get it for $15 on DVD. And then on February, what would it be? February 9th. February 9th, we are watching what 2 movies?
Dreamstalker and Death by Love, son.
Ooh, very good. And that is available on a double feature from Intervision, which you can buy from our friends at Grindhouse Video, or you could find it on Amazon, or you could get it directly through Intervision or Severin, or I don't fucking know. Give someone a hand job. Tell them what you want. Tell them it's on your Amazon gift list. Have them get you a Visa gift card. I don't give a fuck. Just watch the goddamn movies that we are talking about. We swear to God, you will love them as much as we love them. Brad, what else do we have to plug? What do you have coming up, Baby Cakes?
Well, Screencast will be out. We'll be recording this new episode soon.
I'm excited about that. I haven't talked about it on this show, but that's how I got to know you, is I was a fan of Screamcast, and Screamcast just keeps getting better and better. Of course, now, in addition to Sean and Brad, we have BJ Colangelo and the wonderful Stephanie Crawford. You can follow both of them on Twitter. I have my own show called the Splathouse Podcast. I say it's my show, but it's not really. I do things for a woman called Sarah Quakendahl. She's wonderful. She's my best friend in the whole world that is not Penis or Brad. And we do a film-based podcast as well, also on Screaming Pods. We have all kinds of friends and fans. We have Brian Sauer, who we made fun of off air. So Brian, you don't get this reference at all, but he has just He has Just the Discs pod on Screaming Podcasts. Oh, he's so fucking busy. He's too busy to listen to this show. He doesn't even know I made fun of him off the air. But I love that fucking guy, and he's done a lot of cool shit for both Screamcast and Splathouse, and it's great to still have him in the family. And of course, he's far more prolific than us with Pure Cinema podcast, man. There's a lot of great shows. Follow us all online. You won't be sorry. Your mom won't be sorry. Nobody will be sorry. Well, you'll be sorry if you don't fucking do it.
True.
And if you aren't already doing it, then you're a sorry fucking ass bastard anyway. And look, I'm sorry I called you names. I just want to hug. Brad, let's get out of here. We're in two different booths right now, and I have been disconnected from the most beautiful man in the Milky Way. Brad and I need to get out of these booths and back to Arby's. It's a 19-minute drive. So, Brad, final thoughts, final words, go. I have to get out of here, buddy. I need to see you.
Just watch movies. Watch Shot on Video movies. Thanks for listening to the show. Have a wonderful, beautiful Friday.
So, for Brad, for Sona Henderson, for our captain, daddy, call me fucking daddy, Sean DeReger of the Screaming Pods Network, for all of our friends, I'm talking BJ, Stephanie, Sarah, Brian, every fucking buddy, Joanna over at Bloody Popcorn. We didn't even fucking mention her. For everybody here at Screaming Pods, but especially the two bearded motherfuckers in the room. For THESOVPOD, the THE stands for the. This is Mike D saying, look, if you shove your hand up somebody's ass, you're not going to get fucking real chocolate pudding.
I said hallelujah to the 16th royal fins. You're getting down on your motherfucking knees, and it's time for you sickness again. Come on and tell me what you need now. Tell me what is making you bleed. We got 2 more minutes and we're gonna cut to what you need. So on the 6, so tell me, one, do you want to live? And on the 7, tell me, is it time for your motherfucking ass to give? Battling, I'm blown to the maxim, 2 hemispheres, battling, sucking